Welcome back to Living the Life, and a happy National Day if you're watching from China, because it is, of course, the country's 65th founding anniversary. And all across China, people have been marking the day.
That's right. It appears there are two things the Chinese love to do on National Day. One is to hoist loads and loads of flags, and the other is to cook lots and lots of fish. Samina Kiani brings us the latest from China.
Tiananmen Square was flooded as daybreak hit this morning. Over 110,000 people are estimated to have gathered here in the heart of Beijing city. They're all here for the pinnacle of China's National Day, and that is to witness the flag-raising ceremony which marks the occasion. Guards of honor marched out of the Forbidden City, escorting the Chinese flag toward the large pole in the square. As the national anthem played, many people sang along and offered their wishes for the country's 65th founding anniversary. After the ceremony, 10,000 pigeons and 3 times as many colourful balloons were released into the air. They floated over the Golden Water Bridge as the Chinese embraced each other to express best wishes for peace and prosperity. Tiananmen Square was decked out with flags, flowers and lanterns, and crowded with a multitude of sightseers eager to mark National Day. Even the country's latest arrivals made a public appearance in honour of the day. 9 baby pandas made their public debut at the Chengdu Giant Panda Breeding Base in Sichuan Province.
Look at that one in the grey waistcoat. It was born on July 18th. Its mother has given birth 5 times, and the previous 4 times were all twins.
I want to get close to the panda and stroke it.
But there's another way that the Chinese mark this occasion, and that's by eating lots and lots of fish. No National Day is complete without a festive meal of fried and baked fish, and this year was no different. This is southwest China's Yunnan province, where 100 chefs provided a feast of fish dishes as part of a competition. China will have a week-long National Day holiday, so there's bound to be a lot of fish to go around. The ongoing food festival is scheduled to be held until next week, and each chef was told to cook 2 fish dishes with the same materials, condiments and cooking methods. 8 professional judges and 5 guest judges are then given the task of choosing their favourites. Numerous visitors here say they're attracted to the region by the fish competition, so the feast not only highlights China's love affair with seafood, but also fits into the area's ambitious plan of promoting tourism for economic revitalisation.
Oh, that looks so tasty, and if that story has got you thinking about seafood, we've got just a guest for you.
Joining us now in the studio with his top fish facts and splendid seafood tips is the executive chef of Bonnie Gull Seafood Cafe. It's Luke Robinson. Welcome to the show, Luke.
Hello.
Luke.
So, seafood, we saw there in China, big business, but over here as well. Lots of people really like fish, but are quite scared of cooking fish because they're afraid of overcooking it. What's your first tip for them?
Well, that's it. I mean, what I've done today, just specifically for that reason, is I've got a fish that's actually on the bone.
Oh, nice.
So what's great about cooking fish on the bone is the bone is just going to retain some of the moisture inside the fish. It's going to give you a little bit more time to play with.
And what fish is that?
This is a plaice.
Plaice.
And basically what the preparation on that is they took the head off, which, I mean, people are quite squeamish about things like this as well. And they've skinned it, and what the preparation is called dark side trim. Mm-hmm. So they've basically taken that out, the tougher skin off completely for us. So what I'm essentially going to do is just have 2 bits of beautiful fish on the bone, on either side of the bone. So it's very easy to eat as well.
Very nice. Can I have a look at that?
Yeah, of course you can.
Now, you're putting together a dish called munya.
Yeah,
right?
so
what does that involve?
It's a French method of cooking the fish.
Right.
So it's cooking it in butter with some capers, which I've got here. And parsley and lemon, okay? But I'm just going to do it slightly differently. So I'm going to use some of the things that grow in the sea. So I've got samphire,
right?
Which is, you know, something that's just gone out of season in the UK, but is available all around the world. And I've also just powdered some seaweed here as well. And seaweed is a an umami flavour, so it's not salty, it's like meaty flavour.
Right, right.
So you get it in parmesan, ketchups, things like this.
Okay, and these ingredients, do they only work with plaice, or can we use them with all?
Yeah, you can do it with any kind of fish, but I really wanted to just show you a flat fish.
Right.
And
Yeah.
this works very well with that because the meat slides off the bone and then it's in the sauce.
Cool.
And it's quite a big piece. How do you negotiate what kind of size and weight to get?
When you
Depending
think,
on how many people you're serving.
I mean, this is on the bone, so this is about portion size. I mean,
Right.
this is about the whole fish weighed about 350 grams on the bone with the head on. So we're probably looking at about 280 grams now.
Nice.
But obviously we're discounting the bone weight in there.
Yeah.
So for just a fillet of fish, you're
Yeah.
probably looking about 6 to 8 ounces. And that would be significant of about 180 to 220
Perfect.
grams.
Well, you can get cooking, and while you
Yeah.
do that, you mentioned that keeping the fish on the bone retains some moisture.
Yeah.
And it also, I guess, retains the shape much easier, right? Because fish is quite delicate; it can break while you're cooking.
Yeah,
it.
it can. I mean, there's lots of little clever tricks around fish. I mean, because there's a lot of moisture content, and if it's a very big piece of fish and you're running the risk of it falling apart, if you just salt it beforehand, wait a couple of hours, and then wash the salt off, that's going to draw the moisture out of the fish, firm
Interesting.
it up a little bit, and that will help it keep in shape. That's another little tip that you could use.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, I'm using this induction panel, so it's going to be
And
quite
that's great
hot
because
quite
it heats
quickly.
up very quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, so this is using magnets.
Now, Andrea, are you a keen fan of fish? Do you have a lot of fish at home?
I'm not the biggest fan, I'll be honest. So I'm interested to taste this, yeah.
Now, is that because maybe you don't know how to prepare it, or you just haven't liked fish?
I think I just haven't experimented enough,
Okay.
really, yeah.
So you may learn something
Hopefully this will
tonight.
be
Yeah.
nice and simple.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep
So
it
this is
really simple.
oil you're putting in, or
Yeah, this is just rapeseed oil, which is something that's produced in the UK. It comes from the yellow flowers. You often see them if you're travelling around in the country. And yeah, so we use that because it's British, basically. It's neutral, doesn't really taste of anything, and that's just going to, coat the pan and allow me to start cooking the fish. I mean, this is a very simple preparation, as I said, and it's all going to be in one pan, so it's just going to be sort of cooking as we go and adding ingredients as we go. So there's two sides to the fish, and the same on any flat fish. When the skin is on, the thicker side has got a dark skin because it hides on the bottom of the sea. So that's its
Right.
camouflage.
Okay.
And if you flip it to that side, it's white.
okay.
Okay, but you can't tell that now.
And when the skin's on, there's a particular way of cooking, isn't it? You have to put the skin down first, is it? Or
Well, you want to
the-
go thicker side first.
Thicker side
I mean, you
first,
can
okay.
actually see it if you look.
Darker
The
side.
bottom there is a little
Yeah.
bit thinner. So I'm going to go in with the thicker side first.
Sizzling away.
It's going to take a little bit of the heat out of the pan there. And yeah, so I'm going to start it cooking off. I've got some salt here, so I'm just going to season it.
So the first time you put the fish in the pan, how long are you looking at in terms of frying time, the initial time?
We're talking probably about 3 minutes on each side,
okay.
roughly, depending on the heat in the pan.
So
And
it's
is
always
there something we should look out for, like the colour changes?
Yeah,
or
the
anything
colour's
like
going
that?
to change. So I've got a little bit of liquid here as well. I mean, you could use wine, but today I'm going to use water. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a colour on one side,
Right.
the thicker one,
Yeah.
flip it over. Once the thinner side is in the pan, then I'm going to start adding all the other ingredients in.
Okay, right.
So we've got a bit of butter. This is like far too much, really. We just want a nice spoonful of it. And that's actually going to make the sauce. So I'm actually going to start off with that and start just getting it into the pan. And the reason being because the whole point of this dish is that we're going to turn this to nut brown. And it's going to happen quite quickly. So we want not to be burnt, but a nutty brown.
Nice. Andrea, how's that looking?
Looks nice, it
looks
smells
nice,
great,
doesn't it?
yeah.
It does.
It looks quite easy to do so far, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully a lot of useful tips coming out from this.
So yeah, I've given it a little bit of time on that first side. Now I haven't got a fish slice, but this side is completely cold,
I think you can tell that.
so
Yeah.
I can just
That's
lift it
cooked very
over.
well, hasn't it?
I've got a nice colour on it, and look at the butter just starting to colour up nicely. Yeah.
And
Okay.
what would you traditionally serve this with? Because a lot of people serve fish with couscous or perhaps chips.
Yeah, you could
We
do
like to
couscous,
do
chips. It's very nice. Okay. Yeah, chips is very nice. Some sort of carbohydrate, or you could just go for a salad, green vegetables. It's sort of a dish that can just be on its own, you know.
Great.
So we're going in with some capers now. The reason why is that's just going to kill a bit of heat in the pan, and it's just going to keep the colour of the butter. It's not going to burn completely. And I've got a bit of parsley here as well. Okay. Some fire. This just takes a couple of minutes, really, not a lot long at all. And I just don't want to go any further with the butter than that. So I'm just going to drop my cockles in.
Nice.
Okay. And I'm going to add a bit of water. So that's just going to stop any more colour in the pan.
Well, look, what we're going to do, we're going to continue the cooking process, and hopefully when we come back, maybe we can try some.
Yeah.
Andrea, would you like that?
Definitely.
Try some of who's cooking here tonight. Great stuff. Looking forward to that.
Right, now Rio de Janeiro has been in the news a lot this year, mainly because of the FIFA World Cup, but after that, there's been focus on the city and its ability to maintain sustainable living.
Well, one artist in the city is blowing new life into the idea of sustainable living. He's using flutes and saxophones, but wait, here's the catch. They're made from homegrown bamboo, and we asked Chris Bambury to find out more.
Itiber Andrade is taking sustainability into the musical world with his one-of-a-kind musical instruments. He makes them in his backyard using bamboo and squash crops that he's grown himself. Itiberi started making percussion instruments and simple flutes more than 20 years ago, so you could say he's a bit of a master in his art. His craft and trade have grown, and today Itiberi ventures into more complicated instruments like the saxophone.
I have always been drawn to music. I used to work in music and played the guitar a lot. And from there, I started to involve myself more and started looking for different sounds, and I started making instruments. I'm just looking for an ecological way to make a living.
It all started when a professor of music lent Itiberi a mouthpiece for an old saxophone. He told the young musician that replicating the brass piece using bamboo could make different sounds. Itiberi was intrigued to explore how to make more complicated instruments. He got to working on the challenge straight away and soon found he could make similar sounds using a combination of bamboo and dried out gourds. Soon he was making his own instruments, as well as growing his own bamboo in his small garden in the hills of Rio de Janeiro.
People are sometimes almost shocked when they hear the instruments before seeing it. They start looking for something made of metal, something more conventional, and sometimes they say, "Wow! I thought it was going to be metal, but this is made of wood."
The instruments sound so close to their brass counterparts that they could provide for an alternative and eco-friendly way to create music. Itiberi sells his instruments to tourists and at street fairs. His items can be found at the recent hippie fair. The craftsman says he's able to scrape up a living selling his instruments, but that he's just pleased to see his work being appreciated and taken from the backyard to all corners of the globe.
Of course, there are some traditional music instruments, but the type is just different. We cannot really compare it.
It's really interesting. Something typical from here, maybe. Handmade. It's very authentic. I don't know.
Itiberi's music might sound the same as traditional brass instruments, but there's something very special and unique that means his tunes can remain in harmony with the environment from which they're made to grace.
It's great to see how he started that and how it's ended up on the stalls, and people are just rushing to buy them.
Yeah, and they make the same noise as traditional brass instruments.
Incredible.
That's
The guy's doing a fantastic job. Now, while that VT was playing, Luke was teasing us with some wonderful smells here in the studio. Looks absolutely fantastic, smells gorgeous. Tell us.
You've added some lemon, right?
Right, yeah. So
finishing touches. What do we do?
I just took the skin off the lemon and I've just segmented it, so just in and in the other way, just to take the segment of the lemon. Just going to give a punch of lemon juice. And I'm just going to squeeze a bit in there just to stop, again, the sauce from splitting out into fat again. So we've got a lovely, lovely sauce there now. It's an emulsion of the juices from the cockles, the actual fish, the butter, a little bit of water, and all the other ingredients that have gone in there. So now I've just added the lemon there to give you a burst of lemon juice and a squeeze of lemon juice to cut through all that fat. The last thing that I've got is the seaweed powder that I just mentioned. I'm just going to use that a bit like salt just to season the skin up. And you know, you can just see I've got a lovely colour on the fish there. I've got my umami flavours, and I've got all this lovely spiked lemon, rich sauce there. really easy to do, you know,
And
at home and delicious, I
Are
think.
all of these ingredients readily available at a local supermarket?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, the only one you might struggle to get is samphire. But, you know, if you can go to places like Borough Market, it'll have it. And if you go to an independent fishmonger as well, you know, you should be able to get hold of it, no problem.
And if people at home are wondering how much something like this cost, what are we looking at?
Oh, it's very cheap. I wanted to show you something that's perhaps not, you know, not something that everyone would go for.
Right.
You know, to buy a piece of plate like that, it's probably going to cost you about £2.
Wow.
You know, it's that cheap. And it, you know, it's something that's sort of, you know, there's plenty of this fish, so it should be something that people are cooking. Yeah.
Sustainable
and, as you saw at home there, just takes a few minutes. Great
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Well,
It is
we're
literally a few
looking
minutes.
forward to tasting it.
Yeah.
After the break. You can hand Andrea one as well.
Cheers.
Guys, tuck in. Tell us what you think.
Yeah. So I should just show you quickly.
Yep.
If you just with the spoon, if you
Yeah.
sort of just take it off the bone like that, using the back of the spoon, you see how easily it comes off, and then in the middle is actually the bone.
Okay,
All right.
perfect.
Just so you know.
Careful, guys, of the bones. We don't want to have to call an ambulance tonight.
Oh no, there's no danger of that. You have to have a really big mouth to get it in there. It's huge. It's all attached together.
How's Andrea?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, good.
You've converted me.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, while Saif tries that, Saudi Arabia is on high alert as the country prepares to receive millions of Hajj pilgrims. It's the Muslim world's largest annual gathering and takes place every year in the city of Mecca.
Yes, Save Adam gave a thumbs up, by the way. He
Lovely,
likes the fish. Well, security forces and medics are on high alert across the kingdom in what is a carefully planned operation. With a look at a side of Hajj we don't normally get to see, here's Rian Clementson.
On the road connecting Jeddah to Mecca, security officers are checking cars. The vehicles are all making their way to the holy city, only allowing those with the appropriate permits to enter. This year, Saudi authorities have introduced electronic scanners to read the paper permits. They say this speeds up the process of checking the thousands of vehicles making their way into the city.
Smart devices have been introduced this year, like the iPad, which you can see. These are being used at Al Shamaisi Center at the checkpoint between Jeddah and Mecca, and we use them to scan pilgrimage permits to confirm their validity.
Over the next few days, millions of Muslims will gather together here as they perform a pilgrimage that is central to the Islamic faith. With the threat of Ebola looming, hospitals in the city are well aware of how quickly the virus could spread. So they're preparing special wards to receive patients who may be infected.
Mainly we're concerned about Ebola because it's a very infectious disease. So we created a different pathway for patients, an completely isolated room for that situation.
Saudi Arabia has barred pilgrims from Sierra Leone, Liberia and Guinea from attending this year's Hajj, citing Ebola concerns. The kingdom said it would allow Nigerians to attend, suggesting the smaller outbreak there was less worrying. More than 3,000 people have died from Ebola since the West African outbreak was first identified in Guinea 6 months ago. A further 8 people have died in Nigeria, and there has been 1 confirmed case in Senegal. There are no approved Ebola vaccines or treatments, which makes the situation that much more worrying for Saudi authorities. Millions of Muslims travel to Saudi each year to perform the Hajj. It's a pilgrimage all Muslims must perform at least once in their lifetime, if they are able to do so.